The boutique smelled faintly of roses and fresh linen, the kind of scent that made everything feel soft, hopeful, permanent. Ava Bennett stood on a small white platform, staring at herself in a full-length mirror framed in gold. The dress hugged her waist perfectly, the lace sleeves delicate against her skin. When she turned slightly, the satin skirt whispered around her legs like it was already practicing for the aisle. Her mother clasped her hands together behind her. "Ava, this is it. This is the one." Ava smiled, but it trembled at the edges. Not from doubt. No, she had been certain about Ethan. She had been certain about everything. "I think so too," she said softly, smoothing the fabric over her hips. "He's going to love it." And she believed that, completely, because Ethan Cole had always made her feel chosen. 2 weeks before the wedding, Ava's apartment was filled with lists. Guest confirmations, seating charts, floral arrangements. A half-packed honeymoon suitcase lay open on the bed, a straw hat perched on top like it was already waiting for the sun. Her phone buzzed against the kitchen counter. Ethan calling. Ava smiled instinctively, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear before answering. "Hey, you. I was just... We need to talk." Her voice was wrong. Flat, distant, like someone reading lines they didn't write. Ava froze, her smile slowly fading. "Okay, what's going on?" There was a pause. Too long. Then, "I don't think we should get married." The words didn't land all at once. They came apart, piece by piece, like glass shattering in slow motion. Ava let out a small, confused laugh. "What? That's not funny, Ethan." "I'm serious." Silence swallowed the room. She leaned against the counter, gripping the edge so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Where is this coming from? 2 weeks, Ethan. 2 weeks." "I've been doing a lot of thinking about my future, about where I'm going. And I'm not in it?" Her voice cracked despite her effort to hold it steady. "It's not that simple. It sounds simple." Another pause, then a sigh, like she was exhausting him. "I've changed, Ava. My career's taking off. I'm meeting different people. I need someone who fits that world." The words hit harder than the breakup itself. Fits that world. Ava's chest tightened. "So I don't fit anymore?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Her reflection in the microwave door caught her eye, pale, stunned, a stranger wearing her face. "Is there someone else?" she asked quietly. This time, the pause said everything. Ava closed her eyes. "Ethan?" "Yes." The air left her lungs. The next few days blurred into something hollow and unreal. Calls from vendors asking for confirmations, her mother crying in the living room, friends sending messages that started with, "I can't believe he would do this." Ava moved through it all like she was underwater, every sound muffled, every emotion delayed. The dress still hung in her closet, untouched, waiting. One night she finally pulled it out. The fabric felt heavier than she remembered. She stepped into it slowly, her fingers trembling as she zipped it up. When she turned to face the mirror, the woman staring back looked like she belonged to a different life, a life that had been canceled. Ava swallowed hard, her throat tight. "You were supposed to be happy today," she whispered to her reflection. Her phone buzzed again. She almost ignored it. Almost. But something made her look. A tagged photo. Her name was still attached. A rooftop bar. City lights glowing behind them. And there he was, Ethan, standing close to a woman Ava had never seen before. Elegant, polished, effortless. Vanessa. The caption read, "New Beginnings." Ava stared at the screen, her vision blurring. Then she noticed something else. Ethan was smiling. Not the polite smile he wore at work events, not the soft one he used with her. This one was proud, like he had upgraded his life, and she had been the old version. Ava's hands slowly dropped to her sides. The silence in the room shifted. Something inside her, something fragile and aching, didn't just break. It hardened. Her tears stopped. Her breathing steadied. She looked back at herself in the mirror, really looked this time. Same dress, same face, but not the same woman. "Okay," she said softly, her voice no longer shaking. "If you don't fit your world anymore." She reached up and wiped the last tear from her cheek. "Then I'll build a better one." The words settled in the air like a promise. Not to him, to herself. The first thing Ava did was cancel the honeymoon. Not because she couldn't afford it, but because she refused to cry on a beach that was meant for a different version of her life. Instead, she sat at her kitchen table, sunlight spilling across untouched coffee, and opened her laptop. For a long moment, she just stared at the blank screen. Then she whispered, "Start again," and she meant it. The weeks that followed weren't dramatic. They were quiet, steady, sometimes painfully slow. Ava woke up early, even when she didn't want to. She forced herself to eat, even when food tasted like nothing. She went for walks just to feel something real beneath her feet. Step by step, she began to rebuild. She signed up for a business course she'd always put off. She updated her resume. She cut her hair, just a few inches, but enough to feel different. At night, when the silence crept in, she wrote everything down. Every doubt, every memory, every question she wished she could ask Ethan. Then, one night, she stopped writing about him and started writing about herself. 3 months later, Ava stood in a completely different space, a co-working office downtown, filled with the soft hum of keyboards and quiet ambition. Her laptop was open, a presentation glowing on the screen. Her presentation. "Ava, you're up," her mentor said with an encouraging nod. She stood, smoothing her blazer, her pulse quick but controlled. This wasn't the same nervousness she used to feel around Ethan, the kind that made her shrink. This was energy, power. She walked to the front, turned to face the small group, and smiled. "Hi, I'm Ava, and today I'm pitching something I should have believed in a long time ago." Her voice didn't shake, not once. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. Rain tapped lightly against the cafe windows, turning the outside world into a blur of gray and silver. Ava sat by the window, reviewing notes, a half-finished latte cooling beside her. "Is this seat taken?" The voice was calm, warm, unexpected. Ava looked up. He wasn't flashy, no expensive watch, no rehearsed charm, just a simple dark jacket, slightly damp from the rain, and eyes that looked present. "Go ahead," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. "Thanks," he replied, setting his coffee down. "Every other table's taken." They sat in comfortable silence at first, the kind that didn't feel awkward. After a moment, he nodded towards her laptop. "You look like you're working on something important." Ava smiled faintly, trying to. Trying usually means you care. She glanced at him, a little surprised. "That obvious?" He shrugged lightly, only to someone who's been there. There was no pressure in his tone, no curiosity that felt invasive, just understanding. "I'm Ava," he said. "Lucas." They shook hands. His grip was firm but gentle. Their conversations started small. Coffee turned into occasional chats. Chats turned into longer conversations, and before Ava realized it, she found herself looking forward to Thursdays. Lucas didn't ask about her past right away. He didn't need to. Instead, he asked things like, "What do you actually want now? What excites you? What would your life look like if nothing held you back?" No one had ever asked her those questions before, not even Ethan, especially not Ethan. 3 months later, Ava stood in a completely different space, a co-working office downtown, filled with the soft hum of keyboards and quiet ambition. Her laptop was open, a presentation glowing on the screen. Her presentation. "Ava, you're up," her mentor said with an encouraging nod. She stood, smoothing her blazer, her pulse quick but controlled. This wasn't the same nervousness she used to feel around Ethan, the kind that made her shrink. This was energy, power. She walked to the front, turned to face the small group, and smiled. "Hi, I'm Ava, and today I'm pitching something I should have believed in a long time ago." Her voice didn't shake, not once. Later that night, outside under the cool air, Ava let out a slow breath. "You okay?" Lucas asked, standing beside her. She nodded, then smiled. "Yeah, I really am." Lucas studied her for a second. That didn't look easy. It wasn't. A pause. But it wasn't hard either. She looked up at the sky, the city lights reflecting faintly in her eyes. "I used to think losing him was the worst thing that could happen to me. And now?" Ava glanced at Lucas. Her smile deepened. "Now I think it was the best." Across the street, unseen by her, Ethan stood still, watching, trying to understand how the woman he left behind had become someone he could no longer reach.
The message came on a quiet Sunday morning. Ava was curled up on the couch, sunlight spilling across the floor, a soft breeze drifting in through the open window. The world felt calm, steady in a way she once thought she'd never feel again. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it casually, then froze. Ethan. For a second, she just stared at his name, not with fear, not with longing, just recognition, like seeing a place you used to live but no longer belonged to. She let it ring once more before answering. "Hello?" "Ava." His voice was familiar but thinner somehow, less certain. "I wasn't sure you'd pick up. I almost didn't." A pause stretched between them. "I saw you that night, at the event." "I know." "You've changed." Ava smiled faintly, leaning back against the couch. "People usually do." Another pause. Longer this time. "I made a mistake." There it was. Not dramatic, not loud, just late. Ava closed her eyes for a brief second, letting the words settle and pass. "Ethan." "I wasn't thinking clearly," he continued, his voice picking up urgency. "I got caught up in everything, the career, the people, the pressure. I thought I needed something different, someone who fit that life better. But what? But it doesn't feel right." Ava opened her eyes, her gaze drifting to the sunlight on the floor. "What doesn't?" "My life," he admitted. "None of it feels real anymore." She let out a soft breath. "You chose it." "I know." His voice cracked slightly. "And I regret it, every day." The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was clear, clean. "I'm glad you told me," Ava said gently. "Is that it?" he asked, almost desperately. "That's all you're going to say?" "What do you want me to say, Ethan? That you miss me? That we can fix this? That—" "I don't." The words weren't sharp. They didn't need to be. They were true. On the other end of the line, Ethan said nothing. Ava sat up slowly, her voice steady, grounded. "You didn't just leave me. You made a choice about who you thought I was worth, and I believed you for a while." Her fingers traced the edge of a notebook on the table. "But I don't anymore." "Ava, I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. I really do." There was kindness in her tone, but no door left open, and that was the difference. That evening, Ava stood in the kitchen, a small velvet box resting in her hand. Her heart was beating faster than usual, but not from fear, from anticipation. Lucas leaned against the counter across from her, watching her with a soft, curious smile. "You've been quiet all day. Everything okay?" Ava nodded, stepping closer. "More than okay." She took a breath, then opened the box. Inside was a simple, elegant ring. Lucas blinked, caught off guard. "Ava." "I know this isn't traditional," she said, her voice warm but steady. "And if you hate the idea, you can tell me and I'll pretend this never happened." He laughed softly, shaking his head. "I don't hate it, I'm just surprised." "Good surprised?" "The best kind." Ava smiled.
then met his eyes fully. "I've spent a long time building a life I actually love, and somewhere along the way, you became a part of that life." Lucas's expression softened. "You didn't try to fix me. You didn't rush me. You just stood beside me until I remembered who I was." She swallowed lightly. "And I don't want to imagine a future where you're not there." Lucas stepped closer now, his voice quieter. "Are you asking me what I think you're asking me?" Ava let out a small laugh. "Yeah, I think I am." A beat. Then, "Yes." No hesitation, no doubt, just certainty. Lucas pulled her into an embrace, warm and grounding, and for the first time in a long time, Ava felt something deeper than happiness. She felt home. The wedding planning this time was different. No pressure, no performance, no trying to fit into someone else's version of a perfect life. Every decision felt intentional, real. Ava chose a venue filled with natural light and open space. She picked a dress that felt like her, not something meant to impress anyone else. And one evening, as she reviewed the guest list, her pen hovered over a blank line. Lucas glanced over her shoulder. "Something missing?" Ava didn't answer right away. Then slowly she wrote a name. Ethan Cole. Lucas raised an eyebrow slightly. "You sure about that?" Ava leaned back in her chair, considering. "It's not about him." "Then what is it about?" She looked down at the name, then smiled. "It's about me." The invitation was simple, elegant. No hidden messages, no bitterness, just a date, a place, a new beginning. When Ethan opened it, his hands trembled. He read it once, then again, and again. Her name next to someone else's. Ava Bennett and Lucas Hayes. He let out a slow, unsteady breath, sinking into the chair behind him. This wasn't anger. This wasn't jealousy. This was something heavier, final. He looked at the date, then whispered, almost to himself, "I have to see her." Across the city, Ava sealed the envelope with calm, steady hands. No hesitation, no second thoughts. As if she wasn't inviting her past back into her life, but simply allowing it to witness how far she had come. The morning of the wedding arrived quietly. No chaos, no frantic rushing, no nervous pacing, just sunlight. It poured through the tall windows of the bridal suite, warm and golden, settling gently over everything it touched. The air smelled faintly of fresh flowers and something sweet, vanilla maybe. Ava stood in front of the mirror. For a moment, she didn't move. The dress fit perfectly, but this time it didn't feel like a costume. It felt like truth. Soft fabric draped over her shoulders, light catching the subtle details as she shifted slightly. Behind her, her mother dabbed her eyes with a tissue. "You look happy." Ava met her reflection, not searching, not questioning, just seeing. "I am," she said simply, and she meant it. Guests began to arrive, filling the venue with low laughter and quiet conversations. The space glowed with soft light, open and elegant, every detail chosen with care, not to impress, but to feel right. Outside, a black car pulled up. Ethan stepped out. For a second, he just stood there, staring at the building. His chest felt tight, like something was pressing inward. He had imagined this moment differently. In his mind, there was always a version where he showed up and things shifted, where she looked at him and remembered what they had, where something could still be undone. But as he walked inside, that illusion began to crack. Everything about this place felt intentional, peaceful. Nothing like the wedding they had planned. This one didn't feel like a performance. It felt real. A soft melody filled the air as guests took their seats. Ethan sat near the back, not hidden, but not close enough to pretend he belonged. His eyes scanned the room, taking in the details, the people, the quiet happiness that seemed to naturally settle into every corner. Then he saw Lucas, standing at the front, calm, grounded, not trying to impress anyone, just present. Ethan swallowed. That was the difference. The music shifted, a gentle cue. Everyone turned. And then Ava appeared. For a brief second, everything else faded. She stood at the entrance, sunlight framing her like something almost unreal. But there was nothing fragile about her now. She didn't hesitate, didn't falter. Step by step, she walked forward, each movement steady, certain. Ethan felt something twist sharply in his chest. This was the same aisle, the same moment he had walked away from. But she wasn't the same woman, not even close. Her eyes lifted, meeting Lucas's, and the way he looked at her, not possession, not pride, but quiet, unwavering love. Ethan looked down, just for a second, because he couldn't hold it. At the altar, Ava took her place. The officiant spoke, but the words blurred into the background, because this wasn't about ceremony, it was about choice. Lucas reached for her hands. "Hey," he said softly, a small smile breaking through. "Hey," she replied, her voice light. "Nervous?" She shook her head slightly. "No." A beat. "Not this time." Lucas's smile deepened. "Good." When it was her turn to speak, Ava took a small breath, not to study herself, but to feel the moment fully. "I used to think love was about holding on, about proving your worth, about becoming someone else's need." A quiet stillness settled over the guests. But I was wrong. Her fingers tightened slightly around Lucas's. "Love isn't about changing who you are to fit someone else's world." She glanced at him, her eyes soft. "It's about finding someone who meets you in your own. With you, I never had to ask if I was enough, because you showed me that I always was." Her voice softened. From the back row, Ethan closed his eyes briefly. Each word landed deeper than the last, not because they were meant for him, but because they weren't anymore. "I choose you," Ava said, finally, her voice steady, certain. "Not because I need you, but because I want to build a life with you, one that's real, one that's ours." Lucas nodded, his voice low but firm. "And I choose you, every version of you, every step that brought you here." The officiant smiled warmly. Then, by the power vested in me, Ethan didn't hear the rest, because he already knew. "You may kiss the bride." The room filled with soft applause as Lucas leaned in, his hand resting gently against Ava's cheek. The kiss wasn't dramatic, it wasn't for show, it was quiet, certain, real. Outside, as the celebration carried on, Ethan stepped away. The sound of laughter faded behind him as he walked towards the parking lot. He paused once, just once, looking back at the building, at the life he had stepped out of. Then he let out a slow breath, not angry, not bitter, just aware. You didn't lose her, you let her go, and now she belonged somewhere else, somewhere better. Inside, Ava stood among friends and family, laughter rising easily, her hand still intertwined with Lucas's. The air felt lighter, everything did. She glanced around the room, at the people, the warmth, the life she had rebuilt piece by piece. Then Lucas squeezed her hand gently. She looked at him and smiled, not because she had something to prove, not because she had won, but because she was finally exactly where she was meant to be. Final line. The best revenge wasn't making him regret losing her, it was becoming someone who no longer needed him at all.